Hey folks, Blood Loss Trauma here with another video from Dark Souls. When I first started playing it, I was curious on what some of the spells look like when I cast them, so I decided to put a little montage here on what the spells look like. Hope you enjoy. So the first offensive spell that you get when playing Dark Souls is Soul Arrow. It's very basic. It looks just like a white arrow that shoots out. You target your enemy and it casts relatively fast and you shoot. So the next spell we get is the Greater Soul Arrow, or the Great Soul Arrow. It works just like the Soul Arrow. It just takes a little bit longer to cast. So next in line is the Heavy Soul Arrow. This puppy takes just a tad bit too long to cast, so when you cast it, you better be sure that you can move a little bit or get out of the way. It does more damage than the other two, but it just takes too long to cast. So now we got the Great Heavy Soul Arrow. This one has a long casting time too. Does an ungodly amount of damage, especially if you can get it early on and fight with it. Next up we have the two boss fight weapons. It's the Soul Spear and the Crystal Soul Spear. They both take not very long to cast, and they do an ungodly amount of damage. And the spells look almost identical, except for the Crystal Soul Spear. You can see the crystals hanging out the end of it when it fires off. So here's the Homing Soul Mask. This is one of the best spells in the game because after you cast it, all you do is run around. You don't have to worry about it. So you can cast another spell in conjunction with this one. It works by looking at your foe, so if you look away or look a different direction, they will not attack unless it's at your peripheral, just like this one is. So I'll turn just slightly, and the arrows will actually attack the bad guy. And this is the crystal version of the Homing Soul Mask. It does an ungodly amount of damage, and I usually just save it for boss fights because I don't have two versions of this spell. So one of the coolest spells you get is the White Dragon's Breath spell. It does a lot of damage, but it's kind of difficult to use because it shoots in a straight line on the ground. So if an enemy's in the air, it won't hit them. Or if and some of the guys I fight will actually easily avoid this. But if you go to the bell tower where you get attacked by the 30 dead guys, this spell rocks if you shoot it down a hallway. The next spell is Magic Weapon. A few things to know is that the weapon has to be in your right hand and your staff in your left hand. And it's got to be a non-magic weapon too, and it enchants it to where it does more damage than a typical standard weapon would. I used it when I first started the game because it's one of the earlier spells you can get, but then I quit using it because the weapons I found actually done more damage than the magic one, and it's also based off of intelligence. Just like the Great Magic's weapon. It's a spell found later on in the game. It does more damage than a regular sword does, and a regular, magic weapon does. And I don't think I use this spell at all, except in this video to show you. And you can notice the glow is just a little bit darker and a little bit brighter on the sword itself. And there's a third version of this spell, which is the Crystal magic weapon, which I'll show you here in 1 second after I get through. So this is the crystal version of the magic weapon, and it looks cool, and it does a lot of damage, but throughout the game you'll find the Drake Sword and a few other weapons that does a lot more damage than having to use this magic weapon. At least I did. I rely more on spells than I did. So the next spell up is a support spell. It's a magic shield. You can take a small regular shield and cast magic shield on it, and it will increase its ability to block. I used it early on in the game with one of the kite shields I'd found, but I got to as I found better shields, it just worked a hell of a lot better than using the magic shield. But I'll show it to you anyway, and it doesn't last long, as you can tell, because it's already dissipated. So I'll cast it again and I'll block this guy. You see, it does a decent job early on when you can't find some of the better weapons, better shields. I'm sorry. So the next spell up is the Strong Magic Shield, which is even a prettier blue color, kind of a little bit darker. And it's got a little bit better block than the regular Magic Shield. Again, I didn't use it that often in the game because I had... The next spell I'm using is the Auroral Decoy. I've only found two uses for this thing. One is if something's on a ledge and you cast it, they'll attack and fall off. And that's the only other place I found this out is the Drake's Valley. If you cast it in front of the Drakes, they'll fly off the cliff. But other than that, I haven't found a use for this spell. So next spell up is Hidden Body. I've used it in the game once or twice, but all the guys seem to see where I'm at. So I try to, I think it's only for PvP, but here I'll cast it. These guys don't have a clue where I am, and I'll walk right up next to one of them, and the AI instantly spot me. So I'm not sure how it works in the normal game, but I don't use it at all. The next spell up is Cast Light. It is exclusively used in the Tomb of the Giants because there's no light in there whatsoever, and you have to have something, either this or a skull lantern. It also helps out a little bit in some of the darker dungeons, but it's not needed. The next spell up is Fall Control. I used this early on in the game because I fall off more shit than you can shake a stick at. It was always a cliff or a bridge or a building I was backflipping off of, but this is it protects you from losing your points when you fall off of something. So I've cast it, I'm going to jump off the ladder, and this does no damage to me whatsoever. We'll go back up and see if we can jump off a little bit higher and see what it does. It doesn't slow you down or anything, it just keeps you from injuring yourself. Come on, woman. Whee! See, I took no damage. So by far one of the coolest spells is Chameleon. I haven't used it in the game yet, but it's kind of like Solid Snake. You turn into a barrel, and what's awesome is I still have my light on, and I can actually move around, and I look like a barrel the whole time. So I decided, and this is the first time I tried this spell, to move on out here and see what the enemies do with this barrel. So of course it stands out of place and they instantly attack me, just like the Hidden Body. I think this is more for PvP as I play it and get to doing more PvP. I'll try this spell and see if how it works against other. Anyway, this has been Blood Loss Trauma. Hope you enjoyed the video.